Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Right, so sugar-free. Now, because this is one of the things with sugar that I've always thought, when you see the old-fashioned kind of food pyramid and sugar's at the top, there's always like a little kind of divided line, isn't there? Because sugar we don't actually need in our diet, do we?
That depends. So we do need fruit in our diet, and
Yes.
fruit has sugar. So when they put it at the top of the pyramid, and actually they've changed it now, it's not a pyramid anymore, it's more of a circle, and added sugars is outside the circle.
Yeah.
It's no longer
You don't need added
in
sugar.
the sort of plate of what you would need, and this is where it's really important to differentiate on the type of sugar that you're using. So if you've got naturally occurring sugars, so sugars in milk, sugars in fruit, sort of within the whole food, that's not a problem and has it's very easily dealt with by the body. People talk about spiking of insulin. That's absolutely fine. Your insulin is supposed to spike and it then comes back down. That's the body just doing its job. So naturally occurring sugars, absolutely sort of no problem. They do recommend just keeping your fruit to sort of no more than 2 a day. Where it starts to get a little bit more complicated is then sort of the dried fruits and the very, very sugary fruits, so dates, dried apricots.
We have a lot of those at Christmas time, don't we?
We do. Raisins, and often raisins are a bit of a go-to snack for children. They come in these nice little boxes.
Yeah.
They're very easy, they don't go off, but the portion sizes, so a serving of fruit is sort of roughly a handful, a serving of dried fruit is roughly sort of a tablespoon, so it's just getting your portion sizes a little bit clearer on that, and just understanding that for dried fruit you just maybe have a little bit less. We've then got our my absolute favourite, natural sugars. So these are your honeys, your agave, all of that sort of stuff. In that case, an added sugar is an added sugar. Honey, rice malt syrup, agave, it's pronounced differently. All of these, date oil, date sugar, date paste, coconut sugar, they're all sugar. There's no better or worse sugar. They are all added to foods. You can largely treat them as neutral. There are some complexities in that, as there always are, but anything like that, there is nothing better about honey. Sorry, that's not true. There's a little bit better about honey in that it is higher in certain...
but you have to, I mean, I'm very lucky because I happen to have a client whose husband is, I call him the honey man. And he in fact, I'm going to sell him because he's brilliant. He has something called the Latin Honey Shop. Go check the Latin Honey Shop out. And he goes all the way to places like Mexico and various different countries in Latin America, and the honey is truly organic, because the beehives have to be about 20 miles away from any road, because the minute that you get any kind of pollutants, it's no longer organic honey. So these are truly organic honeys, and the properties in these honeys are absolutely phenomenal in terms of natural immune boosting, natural anesthetics, helping to reduce all sorts of symptoms with various different things like asthma and hay fever and all those kind of things. And they are really amazing honeys. You literally take a spoonful of it and it coats the back. So if you've got a cold, and it coats the back of your throat, and it literally has antiseptic antiseptic properties. I can't say it. You know what I'm trying to say? Antiseptic. Thank you. Properties in it. And you literally, your sore throat goes. And it's not, we think of Manuka honeys and things like that, which are incredibly expensive. And these honeys are in that same category, although they've won awards and are even much better than those and are a lot cheaper as well. So honey can be good, but it's still sugar, isn't it? It's still just, it's going to add the calories or whatever.
And this is very much from a food point of view, not from a antiseptic, antibacterial properties point of view. From a food point of view, the amount of the honey that you would have to ingest to make the additional nutrients sort of beneficial, I mean, it would just be outweighed completely by the huge quantity of honey that you'd need. And so when people start to sell the nutritional benefits of honey over agave or normal sugar, that's when potentially we should start getting a bit.
And this is where honey, if you're doing it for nutritional benefits, you have to really think about the quality of it, and also the fact that actually once you've cooked honey, it loses all its nutritional value anyway. So that's the other thing. If you have it raw, then it's fine, but if you cook it, it actually loses its nutritional value.
And for me, I'm very very open to sugar. I think it's a wonderful thing to have in our diets from a pleasure point of view. Just in terms of these natural sweeteners, or what's the other marketing term they use? But it is all marketing. Whenever they talk about natural, it's purely marketing designed to make you think that you're making a better choice.
Yeah.
The other one that comes up quite often is artificial sweeteners. They've been given an extremely bad rap, and I certainly wouldn't encourage people to have them necessarily every day. But if someone is looking to, say, for example, control their weight, an artificial sweetener in a Diet Coke as opposed to a regular Coke can be a really, really helpful way of a simple swap to just reduce calories. So
that's good for when we talk about drinking.
Yes.
We're going to come
Mixers.
on to alcohol. We've got to.
Yeah.
So mixers and things like that, you can go for the diet alternatives, and that is going to be better.
They're not going
from a calorie
perspective, and it's certainly in terms of the fear mongering around artificial sweeteners, we do not need to worry. They are safe for human consumption. The quantities, the dose makes the poison, and if you have a huge amount of artificial sweetener, then absolutely you start seeing some negative effects. But the same is true of water, the same is true of vegetables. It is all about the dose, and they've tested artificial sweeteners, and they are safe despite a little bit of fear mongering. So if it's helpful to you, that's beneficial in the recipe.
It's interesting. So sugar-free treats.
So for me, what works on the sugar-free treats is something like the energy balls. So they do contain dates and nuts. So sometimes I put oats in them so they're nice and filling. But I think what works is you can keep them in your freezer. So actually you might just want to take one out and defrost it. Or sometimes I get home, I drop the kids off at school, and then I might just take one out of the freezer, leave it in a little bowl on the side, and then I can eat it later on. So I think that helps, that you're not going to sit down and eat 5 of them.
Yeah, that's a really good tip, isn't it? Because you can freeze things like this, put them all in the freezer, and then you're not going to want to...
You haven't got a bowl on the side in the kitchen that you're going to keep picking out. You can just take out what you need.
Quickly, how do you make energy balls? Because they're so expensive to buy. If I want to buy an energy ball in the shops, we shan't mention any, she's going to eat one now. These are delicious. It's like £2 for one of these. Yeah. So how do we make these ourselves? Very, very quickly.
So they pretty much are nuts. I like to use pecans. So these ones are pecans, dates, and then cherries. And then a little bit of, you don't always need to, if you've got dates in it, you probably don't even need the bit of honey or maple syrup or anything in it. And then I think for me, I whiz up the nuts first of all in the food processor, so you get them nice and fine, and then put in your dried fruit and stuff, because then it makes it nice and smooth. And then the other ones are apricot and almond, or sometimes I've done them, if you want to do nut-free ones, like I've done for things at school, I found a recipe that's oats instead of nuts, which is quite nice as well, and it's nice and filling. So it's just all in the food processor, roll them.
And it's easy to do this, isn't it? It's not like so you just put it all, bung it all in the food processor, and then mold them in.
And then do like a tablespoon size, roll it, and then just pop them in the freezer.
And you can make them Christmassy, can't you?
Yes, I've done cranberry, like chocolate and cranberry or something like that. Would be quite nice. And
these are delicious. And what about things like mince pies? So how can we make a mince pie healthy, or can we not?
My view is don't. It will end up tasting a bit rubbish. It won't end up giving you it won't end up satisfying your craving. So you'll end up probably eating loads more, and then having the actual mince pie that you want anyway. My view is a little bit of what you fancy. Just make sure you are satisfying your craving properly. And allow yourself to have it. There's no need to demonize any particular food. Food is just food. Food has different nutritional properties, but there's no inherently good or bad food.
Yeah,
it's just more nutritious, less nutritious.
If there was a choice between mince pies and one of these on the table, I would go for one of these, because I love the flavours in here. I don't like raisins and currants quite so much. It doesn't do anything for me. I quite like the booze in mince pies. Quite like a booze in mince pie. But I think this is so much nicer. So I suppose it goes down to actually what you choose, isn't it?
What you like. You are not alone. So many of my clients cannot stand mince pies. Actually, from a texture point of view. But if you, again, start to sort of demonize them and say, ooh, I'm a bit naughty for having a mince pie, that's when you actually start to see things deteriorate. Something you can do from a portion size point of view, though, is mini mince pies. They're brilliant. They just satisfy that hit without necessarily needing that entire mince pie. I don't love to talk too much about calories, but calories do matter. And depending on the mince pie, that is a pretty significant snack, but doesn't really seem to satiate people all that much. So from a taste satisfaction point of view, the mini mince pies actually seem to go down pretty well without that huge hit, sort of 200 plus.
Oh, another good idea actually, because I made some other balls last year. It's a Nigella recipe, and it's basically crumbled up Christmas pudding with melted chocolate. And then you put in a splash of whatever your favourite Christmas booze is, and then you roll those into a ball, and you can pop those in the freezer. And I drizzled some white chocolate, sprinkled a bit of silver on them just to make them look a bit Christmas. But I think the nice thing again was, rather than having a bowl of Christmas pudding, again, it's just like a smaller little something really sweet.
Yeah.
You don't always need anything bigger, but they worked really well.
And again, that you can put those in the freezer, so you're not tempted to eat the whole.
And they're nice. If you've got guests coming round, then they look fancy. You can make them look pretty and. Yeah,
so
they were
literally
really good.
already cooked Christmas pudding. That's left over or whatever. And then you just roll them.
Melt some chocolate and roll it into a ball. Mix it all up and into a ball. Yeah, they were really good.
That sounds really good. Thank you, girls. I like that. It's good. Hello, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy it, please do subscribe to our channel and comment and like on the video so that we can continue to provide you with lots of free content.